Hello and welcome back to Learn the Bible in a Year for March 5th, 2026. Today is National Cheese Doodle Day. Cheese Doodle. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I do a lot of research to put these podcasts together for you guys every single day. But today I had to research what exactly a cheese doodle is. And guess what? A cheese doodle is that thing that a Cheeto is, which I think is really interesting. When I was growing up, I always wondered, is a Cheeto a chip or is a Cheeto like a cracker? Because it's kind of a neither. Well, turns out it is a neither. It's a cheese doodle. Yeah, well, now you know. I bet Josh Klatt didn't even know that. Today, we're going to be looking at a list of a bunch of skin diseases. That sounds yummy. We're also going to see this beautiful moment of genuine connection between Jesus and a scribe, of all people, followed by one of the most powerful lessons on giving in the Bible. Let's buckle up. Let's do it. All right, now let's jump on to Leviticus 13 here. This entire chapter is dedicated to the diagnosis of infectious skin diseases. This is also called Zarath in Hebrew. That's spelled T-Z-A-R-A-A-T-H. I wouldn't have spelled that right. It's often translated to leprosy, but it's actually a much broader term and could refer to a number of skin diseases. As we'll later see, even mold on fabric falls under this category. We typically just read it as leprosy when we read it in our English translated Bibles. The key figure here is the priest, but his role isn't to heal, it's to diagnose. He's a public health inspector, if you will, for the camp of Israel. The chapter lays out incredibly detailed procedures. If someone has a swelling, a rash, or a spot, they come to the priest. The priest examines the spot. He examines the color of the hair on it, whether it appears deeper than the skin. Based on these signs, he either declares the person unclean immediately or puts them on a 7-day quarantine for observation. After 7 days, he examines them again. Has it spread? Has it changed? Based on that, he might declare them clean or order another 7-day quarantine. This is a careful, methodical process. Now, you might look at the process like this and think to yourself, well, this seems very similar to standard, modern day medical practices. And the answer is yes. This would have been very, very odd to do in this particular day and age. Medical advancements, there was really no such thing as a medical advancement. There was no such thing as medicine. There was really no such thing as health practices or anything like that in the ancient world. So God having his people follow these practices was incredibly useful in a day where medicine wasn't really practiced. Another question you might have is, why is the priest doing this? Seems like maybe we should have a separate person, like a doctor or someone like that are in charge of these particular things. But here's the reality about the nation of Israel that's very different than the nations we live in today. You see, if you live in the United States or a Western country and you're listening to this, or even most Eastern countries, there is a separation between the state or the government and the church, the religion of the country. Now, this is not the case for all countries, but for most countries in the modern era, that is the case. But see, here in Israel, there was no separation of church and state. The religion and the government were all mingled together. It was all one thing, right? So the people who led the country, like Moses, like the priests and the people that Moses assigned over groups of people, all these people, yes, were the religious leaders, but they were also the political leaders. So under that idea, having the priest be the one that inspects people and declares them clean or unclean makes perfect sense in this nation. And there's a fascinating counterintuitive rule here in verses 12 and 13. If the disease spreads and covers a person's entire body from head to foot, the priest is going to pronounce that person clean. Wait a second, clean? That seems totally backwards. Well, this is actually very intentional. Remember, when somebody is considered unclean, they cannot go to the tabernacle to worship. So when the priest sees somebody covered in a skin disease, a skin infection from head to toe, the priest saying that that person is clean is basically saying, hey, there's no natural way that we're going to be able to cure this. You need to go and you need to fall face first and worship the Lord, and only the Lord can heal you at this point. This is a good reminder for us that the idea of clean and unclean, it's not the same thing as saying somebody is good or somebody is bad. It's really, if you are clean, you are ready to approach a holy God. If you are unclean, you are not yet ready to approach a holy God. But if you are literally covered head to toe in a skin infection and you are about to die, well, just go to God. He's the only one that can help at that point. Hopefully that makes some sense to you. Now we jump into Mark chapter 12. After a series of hostile questions, a scribe comes to Jesus with a genuine one. Well, that's a change of pace. He's been listening and he's impressed. He asks, which commandment is the most important of all? Jesus doesn't hesitate. He quotes Shema, the central prayer of Judaism from Deuteronomy 6, and it says, Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. Love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind and with all your strength. And then he actually adds a second here, and this is from Leviticus 19, and it says to love your neighbor as yourself. The word for love here is the word agape, and this isn't some like sentimental, mushy feeling. It's actually a committed, willed love. It's a love that chooses its object and devotes its entire self, heart, soul, mind, and strength. It's a picture of total commitment. The scribe is thrilled with his answer. He agrees enthusiastically, adding that this kind of love is more important than all the burnt offerings and sacrifices. This scribe gets it. He understands that the heart behind the rituals is what matters to God. And Jesus, seeing his wisdom, gives him a profound encouragement. You are not far from the kingdom of God. Gosh, what a juxtaposition. In the last part of this chapter that we read, Jesus told the Sadducees that they know neither the scriptures or the power of God. But for this scribe, he says, You are not far from the kingdom of God. The difference between these two people is their heart condition towards God. It's not about all these outwardly actions, it's about where your heart is actually at. Then Jesus looks at the treasury there in the temple and he notices a lady. This is a poor widow, and she comes and puts only 2 lepta, which is a small copper coin, into the treasury. And this gift is worth less than what we would say a penny was worth. Then Jesus calls his disciples over and he tells them, Truly, I tell you, this poor widow has put more into the treasury than all the others, for they all contributed out of their surplus, but she out of her poverty. She has put in everything she has to live on. The point here is that God's economy is not our economy. He doesn't measure the size of gift, he measures the size of the sacrifice. The rich gave what was easy to give, but she gave what was costly. She held back nothing. Her 2 small coins were an act of total, desperate, and beautiful worship. What a great, great lesson there. And we close today with a warning in Proverbs 6, and this is from Solomon. My son, keep your father's commandment. Do not forsake your mother's teaching. Bind them always upon your heart. Tie them around your neck. When you walk, they will guide you. When you lie down, they will watch over you. When you awake, they will speak to you. For this commandment is a lamp. This teaching is a light. And the reproofs of discipline are the way to life. To keep you from an evil woman, from a smooth tongue of an adulteress, do not lust in your heart for her beauty, or let her captivate you with her eyes. For the envy of the prostitute is poverty, and the adulteress preys upon your very life. Can a man embrace fire and his clothes not be burned? Can a man walk on hot coals without scorching his feet? So is he who sleeps with another man's wife. No one who touches her will go unpunished. That is a stark warning from the wisest man who ever lived. All right, just a quick note from our sponsor here. This show is sponsored by a Christian-owned company called Covenant Security Equipment. They sell bullet-resistant windows and secure transaction systems, drive-through installations. They really sell a ton. These are the 3 that I read every single day. They sell a ton of things that can both provide extra security for your own personal home, as well as for commercial-grade applications as well. So if that's interesting to you at all, go to covenantsecurityequipment.com and find out more. Also, don't forget to pick up a copy of the book that goes along with this podcast. The name of the book won't surprise you. Learn the Bible in a Year workbook. You can get the digital copy of this book 100% for free You can also pick up the paperback version, which I wish I could make free for you, but I cannot because paper does cost money to print on. But either way, the link to both of those books are in the show notes, so check that out there. What was your main takeaway from today's reading? My main takeaway was just the understanding of clean versus unclean there in the Old Testament. When I grew up and I read verses like this, I just kind of automatically, with my American Western brain, assumed that unclean meant bad and clean meant good. As we actually dig through the text here, we realize it really has nothing to do with good or bad. It's just preparing people to enter in communion with a holy God. And I love the note that we made earlier about the person who's covered head to toe in a skin disease. That person is like, hey, this is go time. Rush right to God. There's nothing to lose at this point. You might be on death's door. Run right to God. That's what you need to do. It just shows the heart behind these rules and not just a bunch of rules and regulations. Hope that made sense to you. All right. Well, that is the episode for today, and I will see all of you cool cats again here tomorrow.